Dr. Carolyn McLaughlin joins us now, an Albany mayoral candidate in the Democratic primary coming up on Tuesday. Thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
It's been an interesting couple weeks now here in Albany as we get to the end of this campaign and as we get closer to Tuesday, as I mentioned. I find it interesting. You had the administration come out, talk about crime numbers just a couple weeks ago, and then you had some members of the community say, well, it doesn't feel like that. And then you had some crimes, unfortunate, terrible crimes that the police are reporting. I'm curious, and this is the vibe I've gotten. We've heard, about public safety throughout this campaign, but I'm curious about the perception. How would you want to fix a perception of crime in the city of Albany if elected?
Well, it's all relative, and from where you sit, stand, or live. And I think that our public safety personnel have done a great job at trying to keep crime down. And the data shows that they have been successful at that. But at the same time, we do have to talk to people. And some people don't feel safe. So we have to take that into consideration when we evaluate how we feel about crime. Is Albany a safe city? That seems to be a question that people constantly ask. So I want to listen to the people. I understand that data drives decision making, but also more important to me is what the people are saying. And there are still those who don't feel safe, but at the same time, we do recognize that there have been some success stories in terms of tackling the issue of public safety. So I'm proud of our department, even at the state that it's in right now in terms of staffing, and I look forward to those numbers even getting better.
Yeah, is there a tipping point when it comes to the data that we talk about? Because you look at the crime statistics go down year over year, the last couple, still not at like the 2019 level. Would it be getting back to that would maybe start to help with that perception, would you say? Just more of a movement in the data?
Well, people you compare year to year, and that's what people are concerned about. But then people are concerned about the present moment. What happened last week in Albany? What happened last month in Albany? What happened in my neighborhood last week? People are very specific and very personal about public safety. So I just want us to be able to, I want everyone no matter what neighborhood you live in, I want you to be able to say that I do feel differently. I do feel that the police have formed a partnership with me and we are tackling crime together, because that's what I'm hoping to present. A police-people partnership toward community policing that will ensure that every neighborhood feels safe. Those visiting our city, those who are coming from the other neighborhoods can come downtown and have dinner, can go to different parks, because we got some great things about to happen. I want people to feel like when they come to Lincoln Park, when they come to the pool in a few weeks, they're going to be safe. That is going to be the reality.
When speaking specifically to yesterday, you had the report of the individual with the U.S. attorney, and that individual was reportedly an undocumented immigrant. You had those you look at the county level on the other side of the aisle, and the legislature claimed that it was because of the city's sanctuary policies. Do you think that crime happened because of the sanctuary policies in the city of Albany?
No. I will not blame a specific incident on the fact that we have a positive policy that exists in our city and has been in existence for a number of years. We cannot look at an incident and help that determine that we got to change our sanctuary city status. No. Things are happening with individuals no matter where they're from, no matter how long they've been in the city. So I'm not willing to make a decision or to categorize one incident as the result of our city being a sanctuary city.
You look at the last administration, or the current administration, you could say, on the way out, what would you do differently?
Well, we have to continue to make sure that people understand what that means to be a sanctuary city. We have to continue to educate our public safety personnel as to what that means and their role that they have to play in making sure that we adhere to the guidelines. We have to make sure that people understand you don't work for ICE. You work for the city of Albany.
Anything you would like to address here? And one of your final interviews, probably you could say before Tuesday, that you would like to speak to the voters and the residents.
Well, one thing I'd just like to say is to let people know that I'm prepared to assume the role. It's going to be very challenging, not only with public safety, but with affordable housing, with economic development issues confronting our city. But there's also really opportunities, positive opportunities that are going to be in front of us. The money that Governor Hochul has put forth for our city, we've got to make sure we make wise choices with the distribution of those funds. We know that there are some that are dedicated to certain areas, but when it comes to that $200 million and how it's going to be used around the city, we got to make sure it is indeed scattered around the city, that we don't squander this opportunity. And I look forward to being at the table where we can make sure that the sum of us will be impacted by the money, not just some of us.
I do find it interesting because we had you on around this time last year, when right after you had announced, and you talked about the state investment in the city of Albany and that being shortchanged over the years, right? And you talked about being the capital city. To see that, I guess, response, maybe not specifically to you, but do you feel like your voice has been heard when it comes to that, as this choir of voices has come up saying Albany needs investment?
Well, this is the kind of response that I hope to have. Yeah. This is the kind of impact that I believe my voice will have. I'd love to take credit for that. And I think a lot of others are saying that same thing.
Yeah.
But at this point in time, it's an indication of what can be done. And when you have a different voice, you have a different perspective going to the powers that be that control the purse strings, I think you will get a different response. And that response will put us on par with other cities, not always having to go and take our cup in hand and go up to the Capitol once a year asking for our fair share. We at least need to see a rise in the amount of money that is doled out to the city of Albany. We deserve it, we need it, and we deserve it, and we've earned it over the years. And I think that if we're going to be that great capital of the Empire State, we have to get people's attention and let them know you have to invest in us as we continue to invest in you.
Finally here, I'm curious, who are you inspired by?
I responded to a similar question yesterday, and I talked about in terms of leadership. I'm inspired by the leadership that my parents offered to me in our household. First off, my parents were leaders in the home. My father was a leader, my mother was a leader. But then when we went outside the home, I watched them show servant leadership to the community. We owned a grocery store. I say we because we were the employees, the 7 children. So I responded to how I saw my parents serve the community. My father often said, "You treat my customers right, so they'll treat me right. You serve them so that they can serve you. If they eat, you eat." And that was that simple. And so I watched my father respect the community that we were in. And so I live my life that way. I respect the people that I interact with. And because I saw that at home, that's all I know to do. I would be irresponsible and not true to the legacy that my parents instilled in me and left behind if I were not doing what I'm doing right now. And I'm not the only one in my family that does it. This is what we do as a family. We serve people. We serve the community. So that's where my initial first inspiration comes from. And I will go back to, and I shared this with a young man last night, Maxine Waters, Congresswoman from California. During the riots after the Rodney King incident, I watched her on the news stand on the corner talking to her constituents, saying we have to get these babies milk. We got to get these mothers Pampers for their children. We've got to make sure that they're being taken care of. I watched that woman say that, and I have never forgotten it. And I had the opportunity to thank her for that and to tell her that she inspired me when she came here for Caucus Weekend several years ago. because it was about someone standing up, exhibiting leadership, exhibiting passion and compassion for the people that she had been elected to serve. And at that point, it was about being a mother. It was about being a woman who understood what it means, that we're in a crisis right now, and we've got to do some things to make sure that people remain calm. And so I was inspired by that as well. But I mean, I really fall back on the fact that I learned it at home. My inspiration to do good, to do what's right, to share with people came from inside my own home.
Dr. McLaughlin, appreciate your time. Good luck on Tuesday.